something. Give us a shout if you love your Cedar Hills family. Woo! Awesome. It's so exciting to see all of you guys here tonight. I know you're on the edge of your seat for high vision, just like I am. And we're going to get the night started off tonight with a little tribute to the people who registered before 5 p.m. on November 3rd when Eric did the call out. So we've got some AirPods Pros. And so here we go, if you were one of the early birds. Bailey Butterfield, are you here? Is she here? Is she here? Oh, you gotta be here. Oh, it's a heartbreaker. Bailey, are you here? Are you here? Okay. The early bird lost the early bird. Here we go again. Okay. All right. Mike Gordon, come on down.
Thank you guys for being here. Seriously, this is so exciting to see our community come out in droves. So just give yourselves a hand. Thanks for coming out and being together. This is really awesome. Just for those who are newer this year that may not know some of us, if our staff could stand up, I would like to introduce us all. Oh, there's Weston. We have Weston Grillo, Kimberly Drexel, Alyssa McLaughlin, Casey Lutz, Deb Dickerson, Melanie Hogan, and our fearless leader, Eric Rust. And I'm Margie Gunter. I'm in charge. And I get the privilege of doing a lot of the strategy here, a lot of the facility planning, and keeping the lights on, which is kind of nice and dicey at this time of year too. So, and I also want to invite our board to stand up if you guys were able to make it through the trudge. There's one. There's two. There we go. I just say we have the coolest board. TJ Clary over there. Nicholas Hawkins. Heather Lease. And John Toohey. I mean, these guys have full-time jobs. They're so invested in our community, and then they spend countless hours just helping guide us, shepherd us, all the things that it takes to run this place. And so thank you guys for your contributions. We really appreciate you. Thank you. So those of you who have been here in the past, we're going to do stuff a little bit different tonight because we have a new program for you. Normally, we have our awesome ministry leads up here just kind of sharing the amazing things that they've done over the past year. And if we could put all of those into a booklet, it would look like War and Peace. I mean, the amazing things that our ministry does and the lives that they affect is just incredible. But to shorten up our time today, we put a fun little packet together for you so you can share at your tables there. We had 39 baptisms this year when we had 25 the year before. So people are not only saying yes to God, they're taking that first commitment and following Jesus, which is amazing. You can hear kind of some of those baptism stories on that next page. We had an incredible amount of groups this year running, and this was just a shot at the springtime. 33 groups were running at any time. The 60 leaders, that is a snapshot of those who lead those communities day in and day out. And if you haven't joined a group yet, I highly encourage you to in January when those open again. That's where true relationship really forms. Casey, we had Christine retire, and so Casey took over. And the kids ministry, 100 kids every week that they are just ministering to, Bible talks. Thank you for giving your best, to those kids each and every week. It's amazing. And our student life that Kimberly leads, and we have an amazing team here. I see so many of her leaders here. We had, I think, 17, and now we have almost close to 30 showing up every week, which, if you know teenagers, that's a feat to get them here. So it just shows how awesome this team is and how much they invest into those kids. Deb, who leads our online campus, we have 300 people sitting in their homes, whether it be, if they're sick, if they're traveling, they still get to be a part of this community, and we reach them each and every Sunday. It's amazing. We even have groups for them. Some of the talks that we did this year, Exiles, we had record attendance at Exiles, and even though it wasn't within this fiscal year, our mental health series, we continue to get comments about, and people are asking us to share that with other churches. It's been that impactful on people, so we're just thankful for our pastors and putting that together. It's been incredible. And then I wish we could spend a whole hour on Serve Sandpoint. Raise your hand if you were a part of For Sandpoint in July. Nice job, guys. That is incredible. We still have people reaching out to us just saying, what a cool church you guys have. The joy you brought, the amount of, we worked so hard, and they go, groups don't do that when they show up. They kind of do it just because it's a box to check. And our group showed up because we love it and we love our community that we live in. So really, thank you guys for doing that. It was incredible. A lot that people may not know of is beyond us. You hear maybe about our ministry partners that you see out there that Heather works with, or you might see those that we give in community too. But we have a team here that also helps, 130 families in our local community, help them leave domestic violence situations and set them up. We put insulation in the house or trailer so that they could have heat this winter. So even though we don't share that a whole lot, we have a team of 4 or 5 people who not only, they don't call handouts, they give them a hand up, and they help them through those difficult situations. And so I just want to thank that team especially. A few of them are in the lobby. Thank you for your service there. One of the incredible things, and maybe it was just the stirring that God did in our hearts, our financials, you guys gave 20% more over the prior year. That's incredible, you guys. Just, oh my gosh. We had tried to, we're maybe we'll give $1 million this year. You guys gave $1.2 million through everything that happens through this community. So thank you for your faithfulness in giving. You just see what it does in the ministries, the Serve Sandpoint that we get to do, the kids that we get to invest in on Thursday nights and every Sunday. It's great work. I appreciate you. And so then I just kind of threw some fun pages together so you can see our band team that's up here. They led 447 songs. That's a lot. And this is why I can't be a part of the band. 280,000 metronome beeps as you're up there trying to play, and they're awesome. And 650 pounds of coffee. We are one wired congregation, people. That is awesome. So we'll definitely make an effort to kind of document and share more of this, because the work that you guys do being a part of this community should be something that's absolutely celebrated. And I just want to thank you guys for investing in this community. It's pretty incredible. And with that, I'll bring Eric up. Great. We're going to have a nice vision at the year ahead.
Oh, great, thank you. Yeah. Turn that around, show everybody so they can see the sign. Turn around, show everybody. If you're going to hold the sign up, show everybody. Love it.
Yeah, we make a joke because I work a lot with Eric, and who thinks Eric's gifted with talking and communication? And yeah,
Thank you.
I'm in my role behind the scenes because it's not my gifting. So thank you for being with me tonight.
You did so good. You crushed it. Yeah. Good. Okay, so I'm curious, how many of you have, we'll start with this. This is your first vision night for Cedar Hills Church? Just put a hand up really high. Wow. So
Yeah.
that means a lot that you're here. I love it. So the rest of you put a hand up if you've been here before. So a little bit more of us have been here. That's good, because part of what we're doing tonight is connecting with some things we've done over the last couple of years. But this has become a real fun night. We used to call them annual celebrations. We'd have maybe 100 if we were, 75, 100 people. We were so excited. And tonight we got, well over 200 people here. So we're just thrilled to have you a part of it. We're going to spend some time looking ahead. We've already looked back, and we've got a book to do that. But I just want to kind of go back a little bit further and just kind of remind all of us kind of how we've gotten to where we are today. 2001 was the year that Cedar Hills Church began. A small number of us began meeting in a living room. And we just had this dream to create a church together. And not just because Sandpoint needed another church. There was no shortage of churches back then, and there's still no shortage of churches in Bonner County today, right? We see them everywhere. They're all over the place. But we felt like there was room for a church that would really work hard to just elevate Jesus in everything we do, strip away any of that man-made stuff that we so easily allow to get in the way, and just help people discover the pure and beautiful life that Christ offers to every one of us. Around here, we call that full life, like life abundantly. And that's been our commitment, is just to create a church for people that didn't have a church. And that caught on with a few of us. That grew to a meeting in our old auditorium. How many of you ever met in our old auditorium, like pre-2016? Yeah, not a lot of you. I mean, not even half of us were down there. And that end of the room was home for a long, long time. And we've remodeled over the years, and God just kept bringing people. And it's just continued to grow. And I am blown away here 23 years later that God has taken this just dream that he put in our hearts, a small group of people, and he's multiplied it. And you're all here as a part of that. And so whatever role you're playing today, and whatever role God leads you to in the future, I just want you to know how grateful we are for what you bring to this community. We talk a lot about this. The church is the people, and we would not be who we are if it wasn't for the faithfulness of so many of you. So many of the people, almost all of the people who prepared the meal tonight have set up and decorated. Again, another example of what your generosity looks like, and it just means so much to us. Weston mentioned this morning, if you were here, last week, all of our paid staff were gone. We went to a church in Valley Real Life down in Spokane, and had an incredible experience. And in the meantime, we had this great experience here at this church. How many of you did not even know that the staff were gone last week? Yeah, I love it. That's what we want. Somebody was like, I'm so sorry we didn't recognize. I'm like, we don't want you to recognize that we were gone. And by the way, we had one of our highest weekend, non-holiday weekend attendances we've had probably in the last 5 or 6 years as a result. So we're going to leave more often. So the plane leaves in 30 minutes, so we're out of now. But that's just a testament of what God is doing, the groups that we saw, and we want to continue to be a church that reaches out. We say from time there's no way of knowing for sure, but somewhere around 25,000 people live within just like a 15-minute radius. If you just drew a circle, 15 or 15 miles even, around from this warehouse, at least 25,000 people who currently are not experiencing the full life that Jesus offers them. I mean, Jesus died to offer them life in all of its abundance. And we are here to continue the work he started, to be his hands and feet. And so there's more for us to do, yes? Yeah, and you've got family and friends that I know you would love to experience the transforming power of Christ, and we want to continue to serve them as best we can. So that's a big part of what we're about. That's a big part of what tonight is about. And so I'm going to run you through a little slideshow about our campus expansion plans for 2025. Let me just take you back a little bit to the last couple of vision nights. 2 years ago, it would have been the fall of 22. We actually began to roll out some ideas for what the future might look like. And I think Doug Lutz did a presentation on that. He had some boards in the back. Remember that? And we all got these little dots, and we're asked to go put dots on which part of the drawing, or there were multiple options, and kind of express our feelings. So we began back then in 2022 to receive input from you. We received input that night. We continued over the year. Last year at Vision Night, we had refined that. As you know, these things take time. We'd also done a bunch of work on phase 1, which you'll hear a little bit about. And so last year, we got more feedback from you, and we've continued to refine that. And this year has been taking all that feedback and actually putting it into a workable plan. where we now have drawings that are close to being finished. We've connected with builders. We've got some cost estimates. They're not quite hard costs, but they're really, really close. We're continuing to work that way. We started to get some timelines put together. And so tonight is a continuation of us just sharing with you what you've encouraged us to pursue. Even though our board is ultimately responsible for what we do and the decisions we make financially for this type of thing, we do that at your discretion. I mean, we're here to serve you and listen to what God's stirring in your heart. So with that history, let's jump in and talk a little bit about how we've gotten to where we are. So we'll go back a little bit. I'll stand over here. We'll talk about our mission. We all know the mission, right? You can repeat it with me by memory. We want every person to experience full life in Jesus Christ. That's great. You guys memorized it all. Yeah. That's our mission. Every person where? Every person who's already here? No. Every person that God brings us in contact with. So that's us. That's our family and friends. That's not even just people who would ever come to Cedar Hills. That might be other churches and the people who attend there. I know as well that just because someone is a Christian doesn't mean they're experiencing full life in Christ. I mean, some of us have a story there where we're kind of floundering or struggling. So this is what we want. We want to have our eyes outward, looking ahead to the people that God wants to bring us, and so we can share the love of Christ with them. So that's our mission. That's kind of a timeless mission that Jesus has given us. In 2022, actually, let me go back even farther. In 2003, as our church was forming, we didn't buy this building yet. We were just leasing space, and we were asking God, what's next for us? And we created a vision, like a facility vision document. And this is a paragraph from, I just lost my voice, or hit puberty. 2003, I was 16. No. Our vision for our facility says this. It says, Cedar Hills is all about people. It always has been and always will be. Our church has never had the desire to build an empire or an expensive cathedral. We'd rather invest our resources into people. We do, however, see the value in facility ownership. We see brick and mortar as a tool that enables us to better share Christ with our community and meet people's needs. So when we wrote that, again, we didn't have a building. We were leasing. And it was very much like something we were pursuing in the future, aspiring to. And my hope is that your experience and what you even hear tonight shows that 21 years later, we've held true to that the same guiding principles that have led us for so many years continue to lead us even into some of the decisions that we're going to make tonight. In 2022, our board adopted a little document we worked on together, like I think we call it our facility planning guides for the future. And there's just a few breakouts from that on the slide. It's a full-page document, but I just wanted to show you these highlights. In it just kind of laid, of course, for how are we going to move forward together. And we identified that we want to plan for the growth that we expect God to bring as we lead people to a full life in Jesus Christ. We put 2 time horizons on it. One was we wanted to implement a facility plan that we would phase over the next 3 years, and that would take us from 2022 into 2025. And here we are on the cusp of 2025. And then secondly, we wanted a facility that would serve our needs for the next decade. So we had like a 10-year time horizon in mind at a minimum, and then take us beyond that. So 2032 is becoming closer and closer every day, but it's still a number of years out. Some of the values you see there that we wanted to have guide us, I don't need to read those, but those are values that we, again, I hope and pray that even what you hear tonight, if you were to go back and look at those values, there would be alignment in what you're hearing from us, but also what we've said that we wanted to pursue all along. So this was in March of 2022, and then that led us to some of the vision nights and things that we've established ever since then. So next slide, just some history on our recent renovation. Again, we've done a lot of remodels over the years, but I just went back a couple of years. And in 2020, we remodeled the Selkirk wing next door here. It used to be just this big open room, so we got that working. We paid off our mortgage. And so we've been debt-free as a church ever since. That's been wonderful. In 2021, we removed hundreds is not an overstatement, but hundreds of cottonwoods from the creek and rebuilt the creek walls. And as much as those trees at times look beautiful, they were such a mess. And now to have actual landscape trees in there, which we love. We're so excited to see those grow in the future. We did exterior lighting, paved the far parking lot. We did a second pedestrian bridge. We did the courtyard outside. We just finished up landscaping actually this fall, and we have our sign that's up. So Margie worked hard on that. That sign will get lit up hopefully in the next few days, and you'll see it next week when you show up. So all of that happened in the last few years, leading us to where we are today. by God's generosity through you. We paid cash for all of that, and so we continue to be debt-free as a church today, and now we've been in this process of preparing for the future together the last year or so. So Mark is going to come and talk a little bit about some just attendance and giving trends, and then we'll talk about the future. They love you. I love it.
I've got my fans. This is great. Yeah, we've been so blessed that Cedar Hills is really being discovered by others, and that usually happens through each of you sharing with your friends and community and just saying, hey, come check this out. So we want to kind of show you how our attendance trends have gone over the past couple years. When 2020 hit, everyone wasn't allowed to be, obviously, in buildings, and that really reset kind of how we saw Sunday attendance. But we came back strong in 2021 and had an average of 456. Over the past 2 years, we've had really high accelerated growth. We've had anywhere from 10%, which is, healthy is 7%, accelerated is 10, and then this past year we've had 12% growth. I think if you guys have been here at the 9:30, we're opening the garage door. We're really, bringing people in. The 8 and 11 are actually still quite full themselves. So we're just really thankful that you're telling our friends, and God's bringing more people through these doors to experience that community. So it's just been tremendous. Over the next couple of years, we just projected a healthy 7%, even though we're experiencing over that. And so by the year 2027, we're going to be upwards of 800 people coming on a Sunday. So it's pretty incredible, our weekend attendance. So thank you, guys. In that same vein, you can check out, again, how you guys have been giving week over week or year over year. You can kind of see where we tried for 3 years of we're going to give $1 million through this community. Well, you blew the socks off of that this year. We gave $1.2 million through this community. And so you just see that it's a healthy church, that we're growing, we're investing in the community and the ministries that we do through here. And just really excited for the years ahead.
It's good. Good. A woman of few words. She just, yeah, good. Well done. I know, it goes so fast. Yeah, I just looked real quick, and the last 4 weeks, not including today, the last 4 weeks we've averaged in person 660 people. So if you think about just go back maybe one more slide, if you could. You look at the attendance trends from the past, that would actually put us closer to where 2025 is. Last weekend alone, we had 716, I think, on campus. That puts us into 2026. So very conservative. So we want to prepare for the growth, but we also want to be thoughtful about not making it sound like we're bigger than we are. And the same is true with giving. We just want to be really thoughtful about all those trends. So it's one thing to go into an initiative like we're talking about when it's people are leaving and finances are horrible. We're at a spot where God's bringing folks, and we want to be responsive to that. And you have been ongoingly generous, and so we're in a good financial position. So it's on that foundation of the past, right, all the way back to 2003, leading up to where we are today, even this last fiscal year, that we begin to identify how to move forward together. So, okay, you want to look ahead now? You ready? Have we made you wait long enough? Wrote some notes down. So we have identified a few gaps that exist in our facility. We'll throw them up on screen here. And there's really just 3 that are the simplest way to break down kind of what we've identified, that some areas where our facility is not quite serving us the way that we would hope it would. The first is with our Next Gen ministries. How many of you are a Next Gen, or you have a Next Gen child in your family? Raise your hand real high. If you have a child who's Next Gen, by the way, is just 0 through 18 years old. They're the next generation. You guys are all, I have no idea what that means. Okay, so let's try that again. If you are under 18, or you have an under 18-year-old at home, raise your hand. Okay, you're a Next Gen family. There you go. Great. Sorry about that confusion. We probably need to work on our branding there. It sounds like we should have caught that. So we care a lot about kids, and some of you have, you've built homes as a family. Maybe in the past you built a home because you had kids at home, and then your kids all left, and now you got this huge home with no kids in it. You're like, we need to downsize. That's not our future. We're going to continue to want to welcome generations that come in the future. And so One thing we want to do is really make sure that that space for our next gen ministries is thriving. For 24 years, we've never really had a fully functioning space for them. There's always been some modifications they've had to make, and even today they are. But that goes back all the way to like even 06, 07, some of those remodels we did back then. We just never have gotten it there. And we really feel like we want to create a space that our younger generations can thrive in. If you go down the hall right now, you know we've got this great hallway that goes about halfway down the building, and then it stops. And you've got to go through a small classroom into the old auditorium, which we call the South Auditorium now, which is where students meet on Thursdays, kids meet on Sunday. And then you can make it into the other end of the building. And so those classrooms become challenging because it's hard functionally to get through them. We don't let adults go through there on Sunday morning. So if you try to go to Tamarack, like some of you do for groups or meetings, you have to go outside, out of the heated space and the dry space, and walk outside where it sometimes rains and snows in North Idaho, and you have to get used to that. And so that's not been real functional. So we want to fix that. And then we just also want to make sure that our South Auditorium, like looking at that, like it's just never really been. It's been in like this since our remodel in 2016. We never really got it updated, and so there's this blue ugly curtain in the corner, which is our storage right now. We don't have storage anywhere else. The carpet's old. I mean, it's just time to update that to make a better space. So that's a gap we've noticed, is we really want to make sure that we're putting our best forward with Next Generation Ministries. By the way, in the survey results that you all gave us over the last few weeks, hands down, that was the largest response item. Like, I think out of like 1 to 10, how important is this? You said like 8.5 on average. So that's something that not just families with kids, but even those without, feel like is really important for us as a church, is to invest in the next generation. The next one is deeper connections. We've heard this from you as well, that connection, relationship is really a priority to us as a church. And you're going to see and hear that tonight in our ongoing conversations. You see it on Sunday mornings. And so we want to continue to create space for that. Our lobby, as great as it is, gets pretty small pretty quick. And I just noticed it this morning, even before the 8 o'clock gathering started. There were like 30 of us in there. And the volume was up, and I thought, wow, this is the smallest group will be in our lobby all day today, and it feels pretty overwhelming. During the transition between our 9:30 and 11, so from 10:30 to 11, right now we're transferring about 600 people through those doors. So people are leaving or coming in. That's 600 people in a 30-minute window. And so that lobby in those peak moments, you might notice, gets pretty full. And so we want to make sure there's space for people to connect, to continue to build those relationships. And we also want to have just a space where people can connect outside the courtyard. Seems like during the summer months is a huge hit. People seem to love it. Do you all love that out there? You enjoy hanging out? So yeah, and it's worked great. We just kind of threw it together as simply as we could. But that's a space we want to continue to prioritize, and we want to go beyond just like asphalt, actually creating a bit of a courtyard vibe, a playground. Would be something we don't really have here, an outdoor space for kids to play, and adults to play for that matter, like families to be able to hang out, that not just we can use, but our community around us. So those are the things we just realized are still gaps right now that we have in our facility. And then the last thing would be our facility functionality and safety. I sometimes refer to our building as our lovely Frankenstein when I talk to people. Like, we have literally like added things together. Anybody besides me ever notice that to go down the kids' hall, you have to walk halfway down the kids' hall to turn the first light switch on? Anybody notice that besides? Yeah, I mean, you literally do. You have to go all the way down to the check-in, turn the light on, and it's scary down there in the dark. So we want to, like, that simple stuff, or just traffic flow. There's a handful of things I just wrote down. Some rooms double as hallways, which we've gotten rid of most of them. We had 4 of them, but in 2022, we fixed a couple of those. But we want you to be able to get from one end of the building to the other without going outside or having to interrupt a group that's meeting. So that's one thing we don't have. We want people to not have to deal with ice hazards and snow. You know, anybody ever slip on the ice outside in our parking lot? Anybody get their shoes wet this morning in our huge swimming pool that we have? We are doing an outdoor swimming pool. We saw that out in the front of the lobby entrance. So we got cones out there. We've got this horrible drainage issues. That's one of the things we inherited with this building, is we inherited some pretty significant drainage issues that we're trying to address as well. So we have a lack of storage space in this building. We don't really have much of that. And ultimately, we want to be good stewards of what we have as a church. And we want to use this building to its maximum potential, really just leverage it to the best we can. And that includes the outside area as well. We got a lot of asphalt outside just because of the way things are laid out that we don't really need. And so converting that to usable space that we can turn into like community and connection space is really important. So in light of those three gaps, in light of the feedback you've given us, we've been working on a plan. And so we'll just show you a couple pictures, run you through it, and then we'll do some Q&A. So here's like the first one. Let's talk about the Next Gen wing. Next Gen, again, is birth through 18. Yeah, we got that now. So just a simple little drawing, but you'll see, like I'll just come back here and show you right now, our hallway ends right here. And so we want to continue that hallway all the way down to the end of the building, connecting it to the Tamarack space. Right now we're showing some storage here and the ability now for people to actually get from one end of the building to the other. You can also come in through the Tamarack entrance and get inside and then come all the way in. You don't have to just walk outside all the way down. So this is one of the ways that we can address some of the concerns we have with that particular wing. Hallway all the way down. We're also talking about new like doors with glass so we can get natural light into those rooms. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if anybody else remembers this from 2006, but when we did a remodel of that wing in 2006, I'm pretty sure we framed windows, like they frame windows into these spots. So there's actually behind the sheetrock like some framing there where we can, I don't know, take a hammer and find them and then put a window in. So we're going to bring natural light in, and then we also want to be able to increase security. The reality is if we have people going through that hallway, then child security, kids security becomes more important to us. Right now we don't really use it for that, but there's a trade-off. And so we want to make sure that we've got some doors that provide a little bit higher security because that's really important to us as well. So that's a part of that plan as well. And if we do this, every single classroom in our building will be a classroom. It won't be a hallway anymore. It won't be a holdover from the past. It will be there very, very intentionally. And so this would be kind of like phase 2A, like the first thing that we would do in this project. The next piece is we want to expand our lobby and create additional space for us to be able to connect, not just on Sundays, but other times of the week. So here's a couple of artist renderings of what that would possibly look like. We're looking at doing about a 1,200 square foot addition to our lobby that would go straight out from where it is right now, about 30 by 40. And it would just provide almost double the lobby space, not quite, but almost double the lobby space that we have right now, providing a lot of space for people to build relationships and connections. You'll see right here as well, we're looking to add like a breezeway that connects the new lobby to our Selkirk wing next door. Again, right now, like on Sunday morning, for those of you that volunteer and serve, you got to go outside. I ran a couple of times. I got to keep my beautiful hair dry, so you're running to get inside. But that's a challenge, and so we want to connect that with a breezeway. We do a lot of our guest experiences in the Selkirk wing. And when you come to a church and you want to take your next step and you're willing to put yourself out there, at the end of the gathering, we have to say, if you'll come to the front of the building and then go through the door, nobody wants to come to the front. It's like you're going the opposite way of traffic flow, and that's just a hard thing for guests to do. And so now they have to either be courageous and do it anyway, or they have to go outside to come in. So it would allow an easy way for people to come directly into some of those connection spaces. So that's kind of what this looks like, kind of a new look and a new vibe. That would be a standalone building. It would be connected, but the whole structure would kind of be on its own. And so yeah, that's being engineered as we speak and worked on. You'll see a lot of natural light coming in, so that's an important piece too we want to bring in and just make it more inviting. And I think that's about it. Did I catch everything on that one, Margie? Okay, so cool drawings. All right, last one is what we're calling right now and adding it's about 10,000 square feet of outdoor space. And so we love the outdoors. They don't last long around here, but we want to maximize them when we can. And with the mountains the way they are, we just like let's create a space for that. And so this is an opportunity for us to be able to really utilize and steward the property better than we have in the past. And so right now there is a pretty wide section of asphalt in front of the building that's not being used. And that's partly by design. This entrance back, like right here, we built that entrance the way it is so that we could actually eventually move these spots out. So right now these stalls are all kind of pushed up. You might notice that when you leave, but we designed it knowing that someday we could push them out and create more space for, here you'll see like a lawn area. In the middle is a little kids' play structure. It's like an upside-down cross. There's a courtyard area, and of course, landscape architects love to add all kinds of plants and things, which I'm sure are beautiful. I just have no idea what they are. But you'll see that, kind of an idea of what that could look like. But the whole front of our building, if you imagine coming in, it would just send a message of invitation. It's a space where families can play from the neighborhood during the week, not just something we would use on Sunday. And then practically, this does not sound fun, but we're actually really excited about this. We have, as I said earlier, a lot of drainage issues on our property. And so you'll notice large pools of water. And so we've been spending quite a bit of time over the last few years processing how do we fix that. And that kind of mitigation is really not easy to do. But at some point, you have to tear asphalt up, and you got to get the water out of here. And so part of what we're looking at doing here is you'll notice by the time we add actually the entire front of the building, all of the asphalt, at least, 10 feet wide, Marie? I think at least 10 feet wide, and here it's 30, and here it's even more, will actually be removed, helping us with water mitigation to get water off of the building. We'll probably run a couple of trenches to get water over to our creek. But instead of just putting asphalt over the back of all that when we're done, we actually get to turn it into a beautiful space. And so it's work that we would need to do on the property someday anyway. But rather than just, like I said, covering it back up with cold patch or something, it's a chance for us to actually turn it into usable space. And grass obviously does a lot to absorb water as is. And so there's kind of a side benefit there. So even when you look at some of the costs that are associated with this particular part of the project, a lot of that really is wrapped up in the water mitigation issue that has to be done. So again, not exciting, but if you've ever built a house before, have you noticed you have to do unfun things? So that's one of them that we've got to work on. So those are kind of 3 slides that address the gaps we've noticed. Again, Next Gen Ministries, there's some gaps there. Our desire for deeper connections, there's some gaps there. And then just facility functionality, safety, security, long-term future of this building. Those are just some concerns that these 3 slides begin to address. And we've just done our best to manage good stewardship, fiscal responsibility with giving us everything we possibly can get out of this property. We just want to squeeze it and maximize it to the best of our ability. I think we've got 2 more quick slides, and then we'll do some Q&A. Okay, so here's the fun part. Here's the money side. So our campus expansion phasing plan is in 3 parts. Again, we just finished phase 1, so that's behind us now. So now we're ready to look ahead to phase 2. So we've got 3 pieces of this. They're in order of how we would knock them out. They're kind of in order of priority. And interestingly, the feedback that you gave over the last week and a half in the surveys, why you scored all of them is like important. There's no doubt that we put the Next Gen wing first, the lobby second, and then the outdoor connection space third. So we're looking at around a $208,000 project for phase 2 that we would complete. If this is all just ideal timelines, and it's up to us as a church to pursue this or not. Our goal would be to finish that in June, so right before summer of 2025. And then there's another phase 2, which would be the lobby breezeway. It would begin to address some of our water mitigation issues that are just in this corner area of the parking lot. Our goal would be to wrap that up before the winter hits and things get a little crazier. And then also at the same time, if the Lord allows, we would tackle phase 2C, which would be the outdoor connection space. That's about $250,000. That includes not just a lawn, play structure, courtyard, but also some of that water mitigation. It just kind of helps us make sure that that's all wrapped up. So all of it together, including a contingency, is about $1.2 million. So that's kind of the price tag that we're looking at. It's a larger remodel project, or price tag, I should say, than we've used, that we've had in the past. Again, most everything up until now, the last number of years, we've done just with cash as we've been able to build up reserves. But something of this scale and scope, we're not going to be able to do that. And so we've got to think differently about how to pull that off. And our board, as we discussed it, felt like rather than just continuing to kind of nickel and dime piece by piece by piece for the next 8 or 10 years, that there could be some value in just like, let's figure out what we need to do to get this project completed. Not that we're going to be done, because you're never done. There's always more opportunity, and we don't know what God's going to do in the future, but it sets us up for the future. And then let's roll that out to the congregation and see what it would take. And so after that work, we've come back with the scope of about $1.2 million that we could knock out in all of 2025 if the funds are available. So I'm here to ask for a $1.2 million check. We'll start with this table here. No? Gotcha? All right. No? Okay. So here's our financial plan, just a few big high-level things to look at. We know this is coming, and so even in our budget, we've already begun to build in like a monthly mortgage payment. We don't pay one right now, but we're currently setting aside just shy of $8,000 a month in a special account, so that'll be building up, but we're trying to live as if we had a mortgage payment, just like you might do if you were going to build a house, and you wanted to make sure that you had the finances to be able to do it. Our goal is to have, by February 2023, $140,000 cash on hand for this project. And that if we had that, plus the money that we save from our mortgage payments, that would take us up to about $187K, and that wouldn't include our normal reserves that we keep. We keep reserves on hand as a church. So that's kind of the preparation we're doing between now and in later winter, like late February, early March. The project cost, again, $1.2 million. Our goal that we're praying about is inviting us to prayerfully consider raising and giving together $750,000 cash towards this project. This is not our normal tithes and offerings or operating budget. This is specifically towards this project. Over the next, it would be basically in 2025 that we would give this, and then we take that $750,000. We would finance a small loan of $450,000, and that together would get us, if math is right on that, $1.2 million. Now, some of us are a little uncomfortable with loans. Others of us aren't very uncomfortable with it. Our philosophy as leadership is that we love being debt-free. It's been wonderful for the last 4 years. We also don't believe that the Bible precludes us from taking on appropriately sized mortgages if it allows us to extend the work He's calling us to do. And so our leadership, as a part of our financial guidelines, has established that we will not exceed 7% of our monthly income towards a loan. And so while the average household might spend 25, these days 35% or more of their income on a home, 7% for us is pretty conservative. And so while we want to be wise, I think we are being wise. We're comfortable with some financing, but at that rate, it's a very manageable loan. We don't want to be building rich and cash poor. So we're thoughtful about that. So we give the other $750,000, or we modify our plans, but we don't want we're just not going to chase that loan to see how much we can finance a lot more. A bank would probably give us a whole lot more, but that's not on the cards for us. We want to really be wise and good stewards as a church. So that's the financial plan, and so what we are preparing for is in 2025 to embrace this campus expansion plan together and see what God does. So there's been a team that I have had the privilege of kind of coming together with over the last few weeks. There's about, I think, 10 positions on the team that we're calling our Hold Nothing Back team. And if you're here, team leaders, would you stand up real quick? I don't know how many of you are here, but stand up real quick. I see John. There's the Benz. What do we got? Yes, this is our team. So give them a hand. Thank you very much. So this team has come together. We just had one meeting, but they're beginning to invite, actually some of you might have been invited recently to join one of their teams, but we're working on how do we just invite us as a church into this process. And so we got a communication team and a finance team and a next gen team and a prayer team and follow-up teams. There's just all kinds of opportunities for us to get involved. Project management team. And so we're going to be working together to guide us through this process as a church. And then in February, around the 23rd, between February 23 through March 16th, we're going to have a series called Hold Nothing Back. And that's kind of the name we're giving to this next year. It's kind of our theme for the year is Hold Nothing Back. We want to be a church that just gives everything that we have. We want to be people who give it all to Jesus. We serve a Savior who gave it all to us. And so we want to give our all to the one who gave his all to us. And so that's kind of our theme. And as a part of that, we'll include this campus expansion plan. And so as a part of that series, there'll be an opportunity for us to understand a little bit more as a church family, for everybody who's a part of Cedar Hills, what we're doing. And there'll be an opportunity for us to prayerfully invest in that financially. And there's no pressure there. We will be encouraging everybody to pray about that. But there's not an expectation there at all. For some of us that are newer to giving, we would just say the best thing you can do is just begin giving to the general fund. That's the best thing. Develop that habit in your life. Just faithful, consistent tithes and offerings. And then for those of us that are already maybe giving on a consistent basis, like Nicole and I, we'll be praying in the months ahead about what it looks like for us to lead the way and give additionally towards this project so that we can get it across the finish line. So that's going to come in the winter. But this is just a night to be able to share with you what's in our heart, how we've responded and worked with the feedback you've given us. And we'll have a Q&A here in a second to discuss where we go from here. So hold nothing back. It's kind of this language you'll hear more and more about. This is what happens in groups, to have 60 groups, 300 of you in groups on a regular basis. That's just like we're going to throw ourselves into a relationship. We're not going to hold back from one another. We're going to pour ourselves into one another, to have service happening at such a high level. That's just the heart we want to have for people. And we're going to baptize, Lord willing, way more than 37, 39? 39. So let's get up to 50 this year. And we just want to give ourselves to what God wants to do and watch what he does. So I think I covered everything I was supposed to cover.
Yes, thank you.
So now we're going to shift.
Yes,
Margie's
we're
coming
going
back.
to...
Your favorite, Margie Gunter's back on stage.
So we really want to open this time and just hear from you guys and absolutely figure out, what's in your hearts, what kind of questions you have. Is Seth going to help me with one?
Seth, right on.
We got one rover here. That's perfect. And then does anyone want to run this side of the room? Awesome, Jason. Thank you, sir. That's great.
With this mic.
Yeah, that's perfect. Were any of you guys recipients of the survey that we sent out that just kind of asked you, what you thought about this opportunity? Okay, awesome. Well, a ton of you guys responded, and I just want to thank you, and I'm actually going to try to cover a few questions before we get started. I am going to embarrass my facilities team a little bit because John, will you stand up? Nate Causey, will you stand up? Shane Lees, Gottfried. Where's Gottfried? He's here somewhere. There he is. Oh, nice.
Stand up.
Doug Letts. I know, they're very shy, these guys. But I just want to put faces to those names, and these people have really dedicated a ton of time to looking at how can we do this being very fiscally responsible. And we continue to look at that, and we're still, obviously, these plans are flexible, so definitely want to hear from you guys. Another area that was of great concern is our next gen wing is the South Auditorium remodel that we were taking, I think it's kind of less than 10% of the space away, but we were making it more usable. And so I just want you guys to know that we heard you and that we're going to work on that piece and make sure that we are using as much space as possible, that we would not take away from that opportunity for those teens and those kids to meet and grow further in relationships. So we heard every single thing that you put on there, so thank you. And if you haven't gotten the chance to ask your question, now is your time. So just kind of raise your hand and we'll take it as we can.
And we are online tonight, so we're going
Yeah.
to use microphones for that purpose. We want everybody to be able to hear.
All right,
So
we've
even
got
if
our
you have a
first
loud
question
voice.
here.
Yeah, I'm Godfrey. On the attendance number, how many of those are the next gen? Is that included in the 700 every Sunday, or is it excluded?
No, it's included. And I guess I shouldn't call it the Sunday number because we also count our Thursday night, our student life that's growing in numbers. Those guys, we wrap into it, so it's kind of like a weekend attendance number. And then it's also, yes, our kids that are here every weekend.
So what's the percentage of actually taxpayers? Put it in the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Because those are the guys that are going to put up the money for this edition, basically.
The kids are?
Yeah, the kids
Right.
are. We're going to raid their piggy bank, raid the piggy
that's right.
bank.
I know, we have some terrified kids up here now.
Do you actually have a number with that, for that?
On which part?
How many on our Sunday, how many are students?
No, not students, actually.
Oh, so I think anywhere from 100 to 120 a weekend would be our next gen ministries. So if you subtract that from like our average of 660 the last 4 weeks, really good math would be 540. Thank you, 540. Mike's asleep and he came up with that faster than I could. That was good, Mike. So about 540 adults, 120 next gen. That doesn't include students that are in the room. We have, even this today, a lot of young kids and also students that would be, more in here that don't come on Thursdays or those types of things.
Thank you. Don't be shy. Oh, we have one. Awesome.
This doesn't really address what we're talking about tonight, but just an observation as a newcomer to the church, less than a year. Have we thought about that long walk in front we don't have an awning there. And during the dead of winter, that's a long walk for families, seniors and et cetera, without any cover. Have we thought about addressing that?
Well, the lobby will come out further, but you're even hoping to have covered entry even further away?
Well, what I'm thinking about is when people drive up, they got, especially towards the late comers, shall we say, and they're parking way at the other end of the lot. If they could drop somebody off and say, okay, I've got 50, 60 feet, and then I'm under an awning, and
Yeah.
go from there, I think it would be a tremendous addition to,
That's good.
That's awesome,
good
yeah.
thing to think about, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Even our lobby image, if we go back to that for a second, shows a little bit of that. You'll notice, well, maybe it's not that one. Maybe it's the courtyard one. Yeah, so there you can start to see it's, we don't know what that's going to look like. I mean, these are architectural renderings, right? So again, you just don't know exactly what we're going to choose. But there hopefully will be, by bringing that lobby out, a lot shorter distance to get to the building than there currently is. Currently, it's, yeah. And there's also the worst puddle on our property is right in front of it's just, unfortunately. What's that?
Yeah, so
Yep.
if you park towards the south end of the property or any of that area, then you would be able to come in through the Tamarack door and do a straight shot down here out of the weather.
Good. Yeah.
Actually, back on that slide that you just had up with the courtyard.
Yeah.
I was curious what's going on in the far corner.
Yeah.
You talked about the playground and the grassy area, but I was just curious on the other.
Yeah, thanks, Donnell. We have, we're adding grassy area, but there isn't, I don't know, so we do have some teens in here, right? How much do you guys love being indoors when it's beautiful outside? Right? So what we were doing is we're gonna utilize this asphalt that we already have. We'll put a basketball hoop on. We'll do kind of some swings and a fire pit. So this would really be kind of our dedicated teen space to be outside doing student life or, any type of meetings that you have, and then further lawn here. So that's just wasted space at the end of the property, and we want our teens to be able to meet together and, just hang out in the language that the teens use, I guess.
Yeah. Good.
So if going back to that picture that we just had up, the lawn.
There you go.
See-
Yeah.
See the big lawn area? See the Tamarack door, point where the Tamarack door is? Okay, so if we're parking and we go in through the Tamarack door to get to the lobby when we go to church, so we don't have to go under all the rain and snow, is there gonna be a walkway or do we cross the lawn?
No, there'll be a walkway. Yeah, this is the fun part of my job when I'm working with a landscape architect and another architect and a project manager. I wish I could represent it better to you, but we will absolutely address traffic flow and make sure, entrances are lined up, that it's easy to access. But yeah, this was the landscape just showing as much usable outdoor space as possible, but we will have better entrances and flow for you.
Yeah, Dave Deal here. Was the cost analysis ever done on the Tamarack, or the wing from the south to the north, adding that outward rather than taking away living space on the inside, to just put a whole new wall on the outside, a roof over it, and then close it in? We're gonna lose space, and we're growing, we need space. I just was wondering if there was a cost analysis which would be cheaper to do.
Yeah, so that, we do live within the confines of our current roof structure. That's absolutely kind of the biggest cost piece. And so whenever we go out, we would have to redo the roof. So one of the things that we talked about is, say our auditorium's getting busy, every Sunday. So I asked John, I'm like, can we just blow out this wall and go out here? And he goes, sure, let's rip the roof off and build, and we're looking at millions of dollars. And I'm like, okay, it was a great idea, Margie. So it's basically like a roof question at this point. But one thing that we're looking at to get us through the next 10 years is that extra building down here is still a possibility, right? If we get through this project and we're still growing, do we build out an auditorium here? And then we have so many student life that they're in here. Wouldn't that be so cool, is that there's 100 kids out here on a Thursday night? So our team is still continuing to look at that future plan and say, as we continue to grow, how can we live within the confines of our property and make it the best use we can? But yeah, we are, and keep bringing those ideas. I mean, obviously, we haven't heard them all, so I appreciate that.
And a follow-up on that, if you were here last year at Vision Night, you might remember that some of the ideas we were looking at, one was an exterior breezeway that went all the way to the south end. So it ran along, really where you were talking, basically. It would go from the lobby all the way outside. And when we costed that out, it was, in light of the feedback, it was astronomical. So that said, what if we went inside? We do lose a little bit of square footage, but for the cost savings, I just remember it being shocking, pennies on the dollar almost. And then also we did look at a building, it's still on the works, in that lawn area. So you might recall that, you put your dot by like maybe a future building. That would be further out than our current timeline. And so we thought grass, we've got to do water mitigation anyway. Grass is a really functional opportunity in the meantime, and the asphalt would have to come out anyway. And so it's a little easier at that point. So that might be an option to consider in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
This side of the room's kind of quiet over here. We'll go to Jay, but come on. Come up with a good question over here. People on the right.
We're the good side.
Yeah, oh yeah, you guys are winning.
Is this on? Yeah. So this is for FMI, really. What's the current seating capacity per gathering in the current building?
This room can have, I think, 400 in it. And Weston could tell us how many chairs. 293 right now. 290 chairs, yeah. More or less, yeah.
And will the new addition add to the seating you can have legally?
Oh, the auditorium size? No, we weren't looking at that, but John and I were talking this week just because of the recent numbers and whether it's kind of like the timing, right? We could blow this wall back and shrink our connection space. That's kind of the easiest way to get more space in here in the auditorium. And then it's just a matter of how much kind of mess and construction that we've got going on, but it's on the table because we do see our gatherings continually be packed. So we're talking about it.
Okay, so there's 293 chairs now, but what's the total seating capacity?
400 if we
400?
went all the way to the walls, maxed out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like Southwest Airlines seating. Like, you are not free to move around the auditorium, kind of a vibe. But we have room. We have room. So if I pastorally, if I can say something right there real quick, I wasn't planning on it. If you come, how many of you come to the 9:30? Just show of hands. If you come to the 9:30 normally, good. How many of you come to 8? 8 o'clock? Wow, you're all the 8 o'clockers are here. That's about all of us. And then how about at 11? If you come at 11, good. So 9:30, yeah. Last week we set up, I think 26 people or so were sitting in the lobby last week. We had the roll-up doors. From what I was told, it wasn't here, but. One of the things that, if you're able to do, if you come at 9:30 and you have capacity to come at 8 or 11, one of the ways you could serve us and serve your church is to come either a little bit earlier or a little bit later. I know we don't have kids ministries at 8 for those of you with children. We do at 11, and it was an awesome class today, and 11 was good size today. I mean, actually both gatherings, all of them were great, but 9:30 still is pretty full. And so we obviously know it's full because it's the most convenient and it works for you. And so we fully understand and respect that. But that's one of the tensions is if we added a gathering somewhere else, we don't necessarily solve that problem. And so just maybe pray and think that through. If there's an opportunity for you to lean into that, man, it would make a huge difference and allow us to continue to create space for those that are coming. So, yeah.
I have an idea maybe. I don't know, is the old auditorium used during Sundays?
Yes, our kids meet in there for large group, and then they break into small groups, so
I
it is
see.
used,
Because
yeah.
I was like, can we just wire and have more seating there, and then what's happening here is just
Totally, yeah.
over there? But
Yeah.
if it's being used, then never mind.
This is a good idea, keep them coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to expand a little bit on Dave Deal's question there. So to answer your question a little bit more in a construction terminology. It's always easier to stay within a space than to expand outside the space, because once you do that, the costs go up astronomically, like you said. But also, what I saw on the plans is the space is not being utilized right now to its full potential, because it's got so many hindrances with the blocked hallways, the space that's chopped up. And what I see right now is the space is actually being utilized better. And so it's going to be more functional. So therefore, we're not really losing much space versus what you would do by expanding it, by making a breezeway on the outside. You're still going to have the dysfunctional space inside that would have to be remodeled as well. So I think overall, the plan that you came up with, I think, is very cost effective and a good utilization of the building that we already have.
Good. Wow, put him on our communication team.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Rick had some numbers for you guys here.
I counted the chairs, the old way we were set up and the way we're set up now. Currently, we have 326 seating, and originally it was 370.
Okay, great. Yeah, over here.
If we wanted to donate to the fund, is there a specific fund that's been set up for the building expansion?
Great.
Yeah, if you want to contribute before we kind of ask the full congregation in February, our normal way of giving is obviously you go and do it on Subsplash, which is linked through our website. And rather than general fund, which is usually what comes up, you click it and it'll say hold nothing back. And then if you also designate an envelope in just our regular black giving boxes and put hold nothing back, we will separate that out and put that in a separate fund.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
And-
On that,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Somebody-
No, go ahead. You go ahead. No, you go ahead. No. And, Eric, on that, I had the same line of thinking. Do you guys have a fundraising committee set up? Because I know if you start doing some dinners or some fundraising events, I'm sure people would come out in droves for that. But I don't know if you have committees set up for that. And then
Go ahead.
also the second question, general contractors, not to throw you guys under the bus if there's anybody in here, but every one of them have pretty good connections with vendors that might be willing to, they've got their own fund that they need to spend by the end of the year for charitable events or causes like this.
Yeah.
Whether it falls under that purview or not, but maybe we can dig a little bit there too. I don't know.
Love that. And if you have connections like that, and you can explore we would love to hear about that. Margie is serving as our project manager for this project, for the building piece of it. And so she would be your best point of contact if anybody has a contacts or leads there. We love the idea of, let's all, it's like the old barn raising, let's all show up together, but in the world in which we live in, it's just a difficult thing to do for many, many reasons. But with that, there is opportunity for anyone to serve. And so if there's roles you feel like you can play or you have gifts you want to contribute, whether they're tangible or financial or just resource connections, please let us know. Regarding the committee, yes, so that team I introduced earlier, we formed and are beginning to work. And actually, John Nishimoto, wave at us, John. Many of us know John. So John and Becky are serving on our kind of as our initiative directors, leading that team. So we're collaborating a lot together. And that's part of what that group will do. And so there'll be some events and communication and different things that go out. Probably most of that will happen after the beginning of the year. But yeah, we're going to be working on that together.
And if any of you guys feel called to participate and help in any of these committees, we would love to have you. I'm going to just throw them at John right now. But when we're in our gifts, nothing's better, right? We're using the gifts God gave us. So if you feel like that within you, please go see John. We would love to have you guys.
Yeah. What I was going to say earlier, sorry, I almost forgot that piece. So we just started getting the word out, like surveys have gone out. I mean, we've all kind of seen the same information, but there's already been a couple of folks that, 3 families that felt compelled to do something. And so someone dropped off a $3,000 check towards this project last week. This morning I received a text from somebody who is connected to Cedar Hills but doesn't attend. And they just said, we're praying for you today with Vision Night. I'm going to send in a check this week for $2,000. So there's $5,000 that's already been given. And then God stirred it on someone's heart And they let me know that they were gonna, they initiated it with their financial team, but we have a check for $50,000 that's coming for this project already. So, like, that was, so $55,000 has already either been received or committed towards that. So people are beginning. We're not pushing that yet. We just want to do this slow and right and pray and watch what God does. But I just love that people feel prompted to do something. And yeah, I hope that's an encouragement to you. It was to me.
I have a question about your play area / is it play area with swings and a teen center?
So there'll be kind of two different areas. Thank you.
Perfect.
So this would be more for our teens, and by swings, it's kind of like side-by-side, bigger, egg chairs and, more comfortable for teen-type things. We definitely wanted to keep kids within purview and view of their parents, and so this area is just more of the play structure for just our younger kids. We even threw up like a big chess set right there that adults or kids could play there. But this is benches and seating for parents to just kind of hang out while their kids have fun out here. And then, the teens can kind of monitor themselves a little bit more outside of our purview. We
thank
didn't
you.
want little kids to be out that area.
I didn't want the teens doing the monitoring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike.
Yeah, so when I first started coming here about 5 years ago, one of the things that attracted me the most was Thursday nights. Is there any talk, reference about gathering, redoing Thursday night? 'Cause that was tremendous. I miss
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we love, you like Thursdays? 707s, yeah. So Thursdays were, really well attended for a season there. And then during the pandemic, as we backed off things, and then we all kind of were making commitments, changes in our lives. We just didn't have the capacity, people-wise, to pull it off. The volunteer capacity, specifically with kids ministries, that'd be the primary, was pretty tough. And so for now, we have yet to add it back in. I do think, I love Thursdays, and it was a great opportunity to connect with people that can't come on Sunday. I know many of you might find yourself in that situation, or ski season apparently starts next Sunday. So that gets in the way for people that are going to be skiing, and they can't make it. And so I think it's on the radar for us. What we just are trying to be really careful to just taking on more than we should. And so I think if we had the sense that we had the volunteer capacity, like if we were all like, we want to do Thursdays, like if you want to fill out a card before you leave tonight and somehow drop it off and say, I will commit to serve, like that's the kind of thing that we can only do what we can do with our volunteer teams. And so trying to keep up with what's happening on Sunday, which there's still opportunity there for volunteers that are always needed to serve and love on our kids. If we can catch up there, that would give us the chance to expand, I think, back to Thursday again, or something similar. It may not be Thursday, but yeah, the idea is great. And didn't you win last year, by the way, a door prize? It seems like you're always winning, Mike. I heard somebody over here. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I'm curious if those outdoor spaces, like how would the community be able to use them? Are they just open to like invite moms, hey, let's come and play with the kids? Or is it kind of like reserved, or we don't want, I don't know what the legality of kids playing and injuries or whatever might happen be.
Yeah, so we have definitely liability stuff, and when we host things, we bring out a lot more on. But that was just our hope, is that we want to be a light for just our community of Kootenai right around us. And so for kids just to have the opportunity to, like I would love to see our moms group out here sitting on those benches as their kids run around on the lawn and play on those swing sets. Everyone knows the Field of Dreams is going here. Parents will be going back and forth with soccer. What if they just got to stop off and have a lunch in a calm area and enjoy that lawn, right? So we just see, let's get rid of the asphalt and just make spaces where people can talk, their kids can develop relationships. So no, it will be available for everyone, yeah.
And then if I could follow that up with a completely unrelated question. I love that our church is growing, and hope and pray that God continues to grow Cedar Hills. And I'm just curious, is there any like long-term vision, goal, hope, prayer of like doing a church plant or starting? I know we have people coming from really far away. Is that at all on the horizon, or?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. Without a doubt it is. And it's been something in our hearts for a long, long time. One of the questions I was just processing earlier, I was telling Margie, was like, I wish we could just expand the auditorium. That would be great, create more space. I expect, I thought maybe somebody would ask that question. And with our current footprint, it would be difficult to do without a major effort that would go far past what we're looking at here. There's also a little bit of a tension we feel with how big of an auditorium is the right size for a community like Sandpoint, right? Where we like things sometimes we're not quite the ma and pa town we used to be. I mean, that's changed a lot since we started 23 years ago. But being sensitive to that, it does seem like that church planting and starting other locations would be the ideal path for us to do that. And so, yeah, we have lots of, I'm going to be careful to throw like cities out, but we have people that travel from other cities besides this local little greater Sandpoint area that probably have enough of a nucleus that we could really start to think about that. So that is in our hearts, that's the future. We feel like for us to keep growing as a church, it won't be all here. This would be like the home base, at least for the future as we see, and we would extend out from there. Yeah, good question. Love it.
Hey guys, I'm Kyle.
So Kyle.
And yeah, my question I guess too would be, I've been to a lot of different churches and seen a lot of different expansion projects, and so is there, say the goal and seeing what was given last year from, was it 1.2 million or something, which is like fantastic, and projecting, seeing, I'm like my observation that number is going to go up, God willing, and that like, so is the contingency like on building dependent on when that number is reached, or that 700,000? And say like projecting, say you meet that one, which is very likely, especially in our community with the types of people and things that we draw in, big donators and things, that goal is met way earlier than the end of 2025, and say it keeps on going and building. Does that then go into a reserve or a general fund to keep on expanding these types of projects?
Good. Yeah, it's a good vision question. I love it. I love how you're thinking. Yeah. Do you want to? Me go? Okay. Yeah. So 1.2 is kind of our project total. If God was to stir our hearts as a community, really what we're talking about is we're talking about one-time our annual income. And so that is from just what people have experienced in the world of helping churches is doable. It's a stretch goal, but it's doable for us. So we felt like 750 was a really good place to land. If God stirs our hearts and we give 1.2 million in addition to our normal giving next year, then we will do everything that we have planned cash, and we will celebrate like crazy when that's over, and we will just roll that into what God's doing next as a church, and so there would be no loan. If we got less than 750, we would have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what kind of adjustments do we want to make, because we don't want to further extend ourselves with debt. So on those extremes, that's really there. In terms of phasing the project, there are kind of three pieces to it, and we want to make sure we have enough cash in hand before we start. So we'll actually talk more about that after the first of the year, like some guidelines that we're trying to put in place to say we won't start the project till we have X amount. And then it really depends on how much cash we give. Like if we have a commitment Sunday in March and we give X amount of dollars, but we commit to give the rest before the end of the year, what's that ratio? So how much cash are we going to have? And then we have our finance team for our initiative will help us manage, like, where's our cash flow to make sure that we're staying on track. So some of that we don't know yet because we don't know what the giving patterns, we might all give up front, or we might feel like, no, I'm going to give X amount per month for the rest of the year. That will determine like the speed with which we run, if that helps. Does that answer the question? Okay, thanks, Kyle.
Hi, Margie and Eric. I'm over here.
Yes.
Hi. I forgot I had the microphone in my hand. You might have, I apologize, I was a little bit late, so I hope you didn't already address this, but did you elaborate, or could you elaborate, if you haven't already, the game plan for the security measures you see happening, because with that additional hallway it already being on Sundays, I feel like it is fairly always busy with parents going back there, and it's going to be even tighter once we take away some of that space. But so what measures do you see happening to continue to ensure the kids' safety?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the survey, it was kind of interesting to read through the results. We had an extreme of, it's North Idaho, this isn't ever going to happen, please don't spend money on it, that anything would impact our kids, to you should have armed guards at each door.
We did.
So we do have that, different extremes. When you have that hallway and that accessibility, unfortunately, we would need to close off those doors so that an adult isn't able to just access those kids. So right now, we're looking at putting security key fobs on. And so if you do not have, bank tellers use them to get into the next door, we would have those behind locked doors, and then the volunteers that have been background checked will let the kids in and shut the door. Some parents have concerns that they can't access their kids really quick, but our whole goal is to also not let anyone just walking through access the kids as well. Yeah. So that's our plan right now, is to have the doors key fobbed.
Thank you. And I do have just a suggestion in addition to my question, which I'm sure you guys, being the great brave souls up there that you are, have already thought about it, but we as a church and a community in Sandpoint are so great, and it's shown time and time again with our volunteer days, how many amazing volunteers we have and small business owners. And I'm sure, it depends on your loan and all these projects you have going, but I would just suggest to continue to dive into those volunteer days. Like, I'm sure people would be happy to volunteer setting up those play sets, or even lots of construction guys. I'll volunteer my husband, and I'm sure lots of other women would too, just to.
Sorry, Silas, you're in.
Yeah.
Sign them up.
I mean, it might help to, save that budget a bit, and also just bring people together as a community and as our church too, to just continue.
Yeah, thank you. We've had a lot of people reach out. We have some master gardeners in our community, which I love, and I'm already dreaming of, a day where they're out there doing the planting and building out those benches for people. But yes, we would love all the help we can get. Thank you. Thank you, Silas, for signing yourself up. I appreciate you.
We all appreciate it.
Is it my turn? Yep. I just wanted to give a shout out because I don't know that I've ever come to church in the morning and the parking lot hasn't been shoveled, plowed, maintained, salted, sanded, all the things. Whoever does that, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great.
And I've also had people come out to me in the rain with great big umbrellas too. Mm-hmm. And so if we can't do like covered walkways to, the farthest reaches of the parking lot, I know that we are cared about as the Cedar Hills, community and the people coming, and I'm just appreciative, and I have confidence that we'll take care of each other.
Thank you,
Well
Sue.
said. Thanks, Sue.
Maybe we'll do one last question, and then Melanie, do you want to come up and give the fun prize away while we're taking that one last question? I certainly don't want to stop questions. That would never be our intent. We are going to answer every single one that you have. So we have the giving boxes in the back, but that's also where we put connection cards. There's connection cards, pens there. Please write out, and if you feel comfortable, put your name on it so that we can absolutely reach out to you and address those concerns, because we do see every one of them and we look at every single one of them. So please do that. And then look, we have one final question here. Oh, maybe we didn't even have a final question. Okay.
Good. Then I'll say one more thing, and then we're.
Yep.
You can wrap
And then
it.
we'll
Okay.
switch.
Hello.
Well, it got so serious there, so I think if you love ribs, give me a shout out so I can do this drawing. There we go.
The hype girl.
All right. Okay. This is a Gen Pop. If you registered and you're here, you have a chance to win a branded Yeti. Okay, here we go. Becca Benz.
Oh, Becca.
Woo! So fun.
I love it. That's great. Give me the prayer thing to invite them up, or what? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Look at you, Rebecca, go. I couldn't think of a better person to win that. That is awesome. You can also store bees in that when you're transporting them from one place. Perregos, come on up. I'll have you guys are going to lead us in a prayer in a moment. I just want to make a couple final comments before we leave. Again, we are, as a church, who we are because of you. And so our future is really up to us to chart. And so tonight, again, what we tried to do is not to say, hey, here's what we want you to get on board with. We're trying to mirror back, this is what we've heard, God's been stirring in us. And so this isn't the kind of thing that we vote on as a church, or this used to be like a membership meeting, and we got rid of that a while back and just said, no, we want anybody and everybody who loves this church to come. And so we've kind of taken the guardrails off that and just said, come. But what we want is that verse from Acts that says, it's Acts 15, that says, it seems good to us in the Holy Spirit that we, and so we want that tonight, that there's a sense of unity and consensus that this is the direction we want to move, because it's going to be up to us to make it happen. And that's going to include, first and foremost, our service. And so if there's opportunities that you want to get involved in and begin serving, you've heard a little bit about some gaps we have. There's things that we could do today. We could begin right away if there's people. And so let us know if that's of interest to you, if you've got something burning in your heart, or just a desire to say, I'm willing. Let us know on those connection cards or via email. Secondly, I would ask you to begin praying about this project for us as a church. We want God's wisdom, and we want his blessing. When it comes to the financial side, that costs would come in lower than expected, timelines would be faster than expected, all those things that you think are never possible, we just trust God can do that. So pray for that. And then be praying about what it might look like for you and your family to participate tangibly and practically with your service, and also with your giving financially when the opportunity comes. And so that's a ways down the road, but it's something that we just want to kind of seed with you to begin praying and thinking about today, and we just trust that God will lead us if we're open accordingly. So was this helpful tonight? Do you feel like your heart's resonating with what you're hearing? And that's kind of a scary question to ask. I hope so. Okay. Good. Well, we're available, as Margie said. So, Brandon, Melanie, come on up. They're going to lead us in a time of prayer. They're actually leading our prayer initiative for Hold Nothing Back. So you're going to hear from them on the prayer side a little bit more.
Yeah, so about 15 or 20 minutes we'll be done praying, and then you can eat. Just kidding. It's going to take just a second, but I think we're going to gather in a circle. It's going to take up probably the whole room. There's a lot of people here. But if you could just start anywhere, just form a huge circle all the way around the auditorium. Yeah, come up on stage.
How are you?
Good, man.
Good to see you.
You too. I've got to have. You want?
No.
Down? All right, yeah, everybody squeeze in. It's getting tight. I think we did it. Did we do it? We're almost there. All right. All right, guys, we're going to circle this vision night in prayer. What a tremendous presentation and an opportunity to grow. We've got some tremendous food out there. I'm not bragging, but I did cook a little bit of it. But we want to bless just this year and just bless this food and our time together. So if you'll just bow your head. Father, we thank you. We thank you for this vision night. We thank you for every individual that has come out, that has, shown up, that are all in. And we just bless you, God. We just thank you for all the food. We thank you for, this tremendous time of growth. We know that sometimes there's pain in growth, God, but we know that your plans go according. Ours fall apart. They fall short, but yours always succeed, God. And we just thank you that you're at the forefront of this. It's for your community. It's for your people. And Lord, we just ask you to bless this next year, this new initiative, God, in 2025, God, that we would all step forward, we would all go in. And Lord, we just thank you. Bless the rest this evening and bless our travels home. In your name we pray. Amen.